Hello everybody and welcome back to our lecture series. I'm Ted, your host, and for this lecture we're going to conclude our discussion on mass production. Now, we last left off in our lectures discussing three great operations or efficiency experts. Frank Gilbreth, of course, who coined the term thirblings. Elton Mayo, who conducted the Hawthorne experiment examining two work groups at the Western Electric Telephone Company, and of course Frank Winslow Taylor, who, among other things, redesigned the golf putter and the greens upon which the game of golf is played, in an effort to improve its play and efficiency. Now we're going to move on from them and sort of look at the other sort of well, not a new innovation, but a new thrust for mass production in the early 20th century, and that will be advertising. Now, advertising developed along with mass production. It really sort of was revolutionized during the same time that mass production was really catching on in the United States. Advertising, as we really know it, developed in the 1910s and 20s, with the potential customer being conveyed a message showing them images that they were sort of lacking a modern comfort, and that only the product that they were being shown could really satisfy it. Now, at about this time, celebrity endorsements were also introduced for the first time nationally. And of course, the intended message of the celebrity endorsement was that the glamour of the celebrity would rub off on the average customer. One of the best and most enduring examples of this would be Theodore Roosevelt and the teddy bear. Now, Theodore Roosevelt hated the nickname Teddy. He preferred to go either by Theodore or TR. But stuffed bears were given the nickname Teddy in an effort to sell them to appeal to people who like Theodore Roosevelt or progressive politics. And that's one of the reasons why the name teddy bears have been forever endeared into the hearts of Americans, and really just people around the world. I think that's the most the most prominent example of celebrity endorsement, albeit an unwilling celebrity endorsement to sell a product. The Baby Ruth candy bar is another one. President Grover Cleveland's daughter, Ruth Cleveland, and famed baseball player Herman Babe Ruth are frequently cited as the celebrities who inspired the name Baby Ruth. Now, there is a controversy around this. Grover Cleveland's daughter, she died in childhood. She died back in the 1890s. And the candy bar didn't really come out until Babe Ruth was at the height of his career. The manufacturers looked back toward Cleveland and his daughter and said, no. We named our candy bar after Cleveland's daughter, after Ruth Cleveland. But at the time, nobody really, she didn't really have a looming national presence. And she certainly didn't have, and she certainly doesn't continue to have the sort of looming presence that Babe Ruth had. It was more likely, people say, that the candy bar took advantage of Babe Ruth's name, and simply, made him an unwitting celebrity endorser for the candy bar product. Now, some industries, like lady stockings, they began to capitalize on women wanting to look more seductive, wanting to be more alluring. And they begin to present these seductive models to sort of give the illusion to women that by wearing these stockings they will become a seductress. Other industries like toothpaste, and it's always funny with toothpaste. because the joke with toothpaste is that it cost about 15 cents to make a tube of toothpaste, and that the rest of the price you pay at the market is really what it cost to advertise toothpaste. Toothpaste, as we know it, really became a major devotee to advertisement, to mass advertising. Buying on credit also became well established during this time, and this was a business practice that were used to entice potential customers who otherwise would simply have not been able to purchase the product to acquire it, and simply pay off the sum, pay off the balance using small increments. Now, as Ford established the automobile industry as we know it, a number of rival competitors rose to challenge him for his dominant position. And from the onset, the goal of the automobile manufacturers in the United States had been to emulate the approach of Rockefeller or Carnegie, and that is dominate or nearly dominate the industry. They were really more looking for Carnegie's business insight, but Rockefeller's industry domination. Now, hundreds of automobile manufacturers rose during this time. Many of them were founded by carriage manufacturers trying to stay in business, and many of them failed outright. A few of these companies managed to merge. More were bought out by their more aggressive industrial rivals, and Ford was clearly the leader of the pack. But General Motors under William Durant, and Durant himself was a Ford Detroit carriage maker, began to make serious inroads into in contesting Ford's domination. Now, Durant began to consolidate smaller manufacturers into a bigger, more efficient firm. In 1908, he accomplished a remarkable feat, and became sort of like a media darling. It was a great publicity coup, where he demonstrated that he had fully mastered interchangeability of parts. He had 3 Cadillacs disassembled and all the parts thrown indiscriminately into one heap. 3 mechanics then came out and reassembled the vehicles, which ran perfectly, and this just astonished the crowds that were seeing this done before their eyes. And Rockefeller, never one to miss an opportunity, began passing gasoline off as the perfect fuel source for automobiles, and oil had the perfect lubricant for automobile engines. The rubber industry thrived as tires were needed, and the insurance industry expanded as they now sought to offer coverage for motor vehicles and their operators. Local services providers took great advantage of this, and they began to acquire automobiles and began to acquire custom automobiles, I should say, to improve their delivery services. So we begin to see that the automobile is fully displacing the horse and carriage at this point. The local milkman, the ice block deliverers, they're all switching from horse and carriage, the old horse and buggy delivery system, to this more efficient automobile delivery system. Now, Ford throughout this period, this great thriving of the industry, was only making one type of car, that is the Model T, and they were all available in one color, black. Ford, who was so confident in his system and his product that he openly invited competitors and journalists to tour his factories, and this had the effect of revealing his trade secrets. And General Motors learned from Ford, and they realized very, very early on that he lacked product diversity, and they began the automobile industry trend of introducing a yearly model. That is a new car model every year. General Motors, their executive reasoned that the prestige of showing off a status symbol like a new car, a new automobile, would spur sales of that automobile. General Motors also made improvements to the mechanics of the automobile. The automatic starter was one such innovation that they made. The Model T was characterized by the old hand crank, better seating and colors, of course. Now, the Model T, as I stated, was only available in black. And in 1925, Ford realized that his competitors, especially General Motors, were closing the gap on him. And in some areas, they were even eclipsing him. So Ford, in response, he temporarily closed his factories and remodeled them. This resulted in the creation of the Model A. This also led to the standard practice of producing multiple models within a year. Now, releasing multiple models and releasing multiple cars every models and design of a car every year led to the diversification of toolkits. As models changed yearly, toolkits needed to be versatile to make all the needed repairs to keep up with the car, with the automobile being put out. Now, Ford also spent an unprecedented $2 million on advertising during the first 2 weeks of the release of the Model A. While all this was going on, the road situation had not much improved. Now, a number of private backers began to formulate a plan to construct a private highway from San Francisco to New York City under the leadership of Carl Fisher. Now, Fisher was a principal investor in the Indianapolis Speedway, and now Ford declined any invitation to join this because he felt that the responsibility of road and highway building should be shouldered by municipal and state governments. He refused to invest, he refused to lead, he refused to collaborate with them. And in this way, Ford was able to sort of steer the automobile industry in the direction of receiving a hidden subsidy from the government. That is, the government would substantially aid the automobile industry by paying for the maintenance of roads and highways. If automobile manufacturers had to pay for roads and highway systems much the same way that railroad operators had to pay for the maintenance and upgrading of their track systems, they would be many of them will be at a substantial disadvantage. It would mean the constant has anyone who's ever had to drive or ride in a car, one of the common features is roadblocks being set up so that work crews can retar and sort of expand, sort of modernize, make road travels more efficient. Ford was able to steer the automobile industry away from having to shoulder that responsibility and sort of force it onto local governments. And has noted this was a benefit not enjoyed by the automobile industry. Now, at the same time that this was going on, there was a sort of a boom in consumer goods. Buoyed and inspired by Ford and what he did with the automobile industry, a number of other industries sort of exploded, producing items that we sort of cherish today. Items like the washing machine, vacuum cleaners, gramophones, which not really many people use now, but if you want to look at playing music on your cell phone or just playing music in general, you can trace that back to the gramophone, refrigerators, and of course radios. They were all hitting the market and contributing to this major boom in consumer production and consumer goods that we'll look at a little later. And that concludes our discussion, our lecture on mass production. I hope you guys liked it, found it enjoyable, entertaining. Hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about it. And as always, I'm Ted, and I will see you guys later.